It's Monday, February 17th, 2025, and I've got an update for you on our upcoming winter storms and eventual pattern shift. Check it out. We've got winter storm warnings from the Cascades all the way down through Idaho, Montana, and into Wyoming. Even the higher elevations of Colorado have some winter weather alerts in place right now as it's currently snowing up here. It's moving down into the plains, though. Look at that. We've got winter weather advisories, watches, and warnings in effect from Nebraska down through Oklahoma, even into Arkansas and portions of Tennessee. Lots of Missouri is under a winter storm warning right now, as this is where our next big winter storm is going to be going. We're also starting to see some of these watches and warnings make it farther east into the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic regions. This is going to be a place where the storm hits as well, but notice how we still have flood warnings in effect for a lot of Kentucky, southern Ohio, down into Tennessee, as the water is still out of its banks in a lot of these riverbeds, and the water's probably going to continue to be up as the snow falls, but you'll see those warnings expand all the way over into Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and North Carolina over the next couple of days. Here's our winter storm outlook for today. We got a slight risk of a significant winter precipitation in southern South Dakota all the way down into Kansas and Missouri. That's going to expand into a much more impressive enhanced risk of a winter storm tomorrow. That includes Kansas City, St. Louis, down pretty close to Oklahoma City and northern portions of Arkansas. And then, of course, as we go into the day 3 outlook, we've got a slight risk of winter weather over here in eastern Kentucky, down into pretty much the entire state of North Carolina and Virginia and West Virginia. What's driving this upcoming winter storm is a massive plume of extremely cold air, some of the coldest air of the season so far that's coming down from the Arctic. You can see here this evening, it's going to be around 50 degrees below average in places like Montana, down into Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and North Dakota. This is going to be extreme cold. We're talking about, with the wind, negative 30 degrees to negative 60 degrees. Extremely impressive cold, making it all the way down into Texas, where temperatures will be below zero in the northern side. And then we're going to see this cold air just kind of stagnate over the central U.S. and move into the southeast once again, where it's going to hang out for a little bit. Let's take a look at what that radar could look like as we go into the early morning hours tomorrow. Here we are at 6 a.m. Tuesday, February 18th, and we've got ourselves some light to moderate snow breaking out from Nebraska into Kansas, all the way over into southern Illinois and Indiana. We're also going to start off as some frozen precipitation down here in north central Oklahoma, maybe some freezing rain. That will intensify as we get into the afternoon on Tuesday. Heavy snow in southeastern Kansas, heavy snow in northern Oklahoma, and once again, probably some significant icing going on at this time in Oklahoma into Arkansas. It looks like some convective freezing rain showers are going to be possible in Arkansas around Fort Smith around 6 p.m. on Tuesday. That's going to turn into some heavy snow around Joplin, Missouri, over towards Jefferson City and Springfield. The heavy snow is going to make it into western Kentucky and western Tennessee around 11 p.m. It does look like the heaviest snow and the coldest temperatures are going to be north of Memphis. It'll probably start off as some freezing rain and sleet in Memphis, but I do expect to see some snow, especially overnight and into the early morning hours on Wednesday in Memphis. And this is when it's also going to start snowing in Nashville. Watch out for heavy snow arriving in Lexington, Kentucky and Knoxville, Tennessee around 5 a.m. Wednesday. And then we're going to see that snow make it into Charleston, West Virginia around that same time. And we could see some heavy snow as far south as into northern portions of Alabama near Huntsville during the early morning hours on Wednesday as well. And all while this is happening up to the north, we're going to have severe weather potentially tomorrow on Tuesday down here from Houston to New Orleans. We've got a marginal risk of severe weather. We're mostly concerned about damaging winds here, but there's a slight chance of maybe an isolated tornado or two. We'll talk more about that right here in a second. Take a look at Texas and Louisiana. While the ice and snow is happening up there in Arkansas and Missouri into Kentucky, we are going to have some stronger storms forming late in the day on Tuesday in East Texas over here into southern portions of Louisiana. Those are going to continue into the early morning hours on Wednesday, bringing about some strong winds once again down here in southern Louisiana, maybe even some hail and a very isolated tornado risk, maybe even into the early morning hours on Wednesday in the Florida Panhandle over into southern Mississippi and extreme southern Alabama. So we've got to watch this whole area down here Tuesday and Wednesday for some isolated severe weather. Let's talk about projected snow totals. It does look like a lot of southeastern Kansas and southwestern Missouri is going to get over 6 inches of snow. I think Kansas City, you guys have got a good shot of getting anywhere from 4 to 6 6 inches of snow out of this one. Southeastern Kansas, maybe near Coffeyville and Pittsburgh, maybe 10 inches of snow in some of these areas. Wichita, 3 to 6 inches. Some of the hot spots are going to be the I-44 corridor between Joplin, Missouri and Rolla, Missouri. That includes Springfield, where I think we could easily see anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of snow out there. There will be a couple of places near central Missouri, maybe between Warsaw, Camden, and Lebanon, that see over 10 inches of snow from this, so get ready for that in south central Missouri. St. Louis, this looks like a 2 to 4 inch situation for you. Memphis, this looks like a 1 to 3 inch situation for you. Same thing in Nashville. Paducah, Kentucky, maybe 4 inches of snow or so. Louisville, Kentucky, I would say 2 to 4 inches. And then Lexington, same for you. General 2 to 4 inches of snow expected. But wait, before we get too much farther into that, I've got to take a brief moment here to shout out today's awesome sponsor, MyHeritage. Discover your family story. Lately, I've been doing a lot of research on my family tree via MyHeritage. I started very simple, just adding what I knew about my family to build my tree. I was uploading photos of my grandparents and so on, and MyHeritage took me on a deep dive through multiple generations of my family, and I learned so much. MyHeritage also has a really neat thing called Instant Discoveries. Using this added an entire branch to my family tree with literally one click. I was able to zoom out and see generations going back in time. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, all automatically connected. One thing I was really surprised that I was able to find out was I was actually able to find my 10th great-grandfather. I didn't know that it was possible to see that far back. His name was Alan Ramsey, and he was born in 1686 in Lead Hills, Scotland. And get this, their AI technology took this old black and white photo of my grandparents and not only repaired it and colorized it, but actually animated it. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this for the first time in color, and it was moving. I actually never got to meet my grandfather in person, so this was really special for me. To me, MyHeritage is more than just collecting records and solving a puzzle. It's figuring out who I am and feeling connected to my past and my ancestors. This has been a really cool experience for me, and I think that you're going to like it too. It's simple, it's fun, it's something that you can get family members involved in, and everybody's going to be interested in it. And if you want to discover your family's story, be sure to head over to the link in the description and start your journey today. That's right, there's a link at the top of the description. Just click it, and I promise you, you won't regret it. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to learn a lot. Super huge shout out to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video and just being an awesome tool. Now, let's get back into the video. Now, as we go farther into the future, the storm is going to continue off to the east. And actually, places like Lexington, Kentucky, it's still hard to tell exactly how much snow you're going to get because we just looked through Wednesday evening, and notice what happens here. As the storm goes off to the east, there's going to be some lake-enhanced snow showers that continue to happen in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, and even into Tennessee through the day on Thursday. So that might add a couple of inches on top of the 2 to 4 that we're expecting from the main event. So get ready for that. Additionally, get ready in the Carolinas. I think that North Carolina, the main problem that we're going to have out of this system for you is not going to be snow. It's going to be freezing rain and sleet. So I do expect somewhat of an ice storm in North Carolina and maybe northern portions of South Carolina as we go through the day on Wednesday and into Thursday. Notice how the heavy snow really lets up after the Appalachian Mountains, and it really only kind of ramps back up just a little bit here as the storm hugs the coast near southern Maryland and Delaware. And it's looking less and less likely that this is going to become a nor'easter. It doesn't look like it's going to tighten up and hug the coast. It does look like it's going to go out to sea in a more progressive nature. That means that it's looking like less of an impressive snowstorm for the I-95 corridor in the northeast. But I want you guys to look at how close this was, and this could still change, all right? This leg of the storm over here is still a little bit farther out than the first one. I think the snow totals in Missouri, for example, those are pretty spot on, pretty close. This still can change, but just off the coast of Long Island, we're going to see a lot of places with over 8 to 10 inches of snow. Just off the coast of New Jersey, you see what I'm saying? Like, this is a very close one. If the storm track shifts farther north and west by just 50 miles or so, this turns into a pretty big deal for a lot of people. And if it shifts farther northwest by 100 miles, this is a major storm for the Northeast. But right now, it looks like the trends are saying that this is going to be a more progressive storm that stays out to sea, and the hot spots, the some of the greater accumulation amounts will be felt in Virginia, southern portions of Maryland, and extreme southern portions of Delaware. That includes Richmond, Virginia, which looks like it could see around 8 inches of snow. This looks more like a 2 to 4 inch situation for our friends in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. It could be more than that, once again, if the storm moves a little bit. Philadelphia, 1 to 3 inches. New York City, 1 to 3. And then maybe Boston, this is more like a 3 to 6 inch situation for you. But Cape Cod, definitely it's possible that we see well over 8 inches of snow out there. But you can see the slightest change in the storm track is going to make a huge difference here for the I-95 corridor. So y'all stay tuned. I'll have a more solid forecast for you tomorrow. Also, lake enhanced and lake effect snow is going to be a thing up here in New York. Get ready for that. Looks like just off of the lake there's going to be a couple places that see over 17 inches of snow. And then just a reminder, I think the biggest problem that we're going to have south of the snowfall with this winter storm is going to be the ice in North Carolina and South Carolina, especially and specifically between Charlotte and Raleigh down towards Fayetteville. The I-95 corridor between Rocky Mount and Fayetteville, for example, I think that's where we have the best chance of seeing over 1/4 of an inch of ice, and that could cause some very hazardous travel conditions. And as we know, it could also cause power outages. So make sure you're prepared for that. This is another thing that could change over time. We could see more ice than this. We could see a little bit less, but definitely at least a glaze of ice all the way from Greenville, South Carolina, maybe as far south as down into Columbia. Myrtle Beach might even have to deal with some ice out of this one, but especially from Charlotte over to Greenville, North Carolina, that's where I think we're going to have the biggest ice problems as we go through Thursday. So make sure you're prepared for that. And then I do think that there's a pretty good chance that we see some icing in Little Rock and Fort Smith, Arkansas. It doesn't look like it's going to be as big of a deal as over here in North Carolina, but the HRRR model that we just looked at did show some convective freezing rain showers, which means that it would be raining heavily and freezing on impact. So that will cause some pretty bad travel problems while it's happening. So make sure you are prepared for that as well. Okay, so what's next after this winter storm? After we get these troughs out of the way, the pattern is looking much more stable for the near future. We're going to have a big ridge building in the west, and you know what that means. Warmer temperatures are on the way. We're going to be much above average in Southern California, over into Arizona. Pretty much the entire West Coast is going to be much above average through February 26th. We're going to be near normal in the central U.S., and we're still going to be hanging on to those below average temperatures in the southeast until we get closer to March. Here's the 14-day temperature outlook from February 24th through March 2nd. We're going to continue to see that ridge build in the west, and we're going to see the cold temperatures exit to the east. And I think that these warm temperatures are going to continue to move east. So get ready. March might be a warm one in the central U.S. at least, and we might be near normal for a while in the northeast all the way down into the southeast, and we might get a break from the consistent cold. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and huge shout out to everybody that went to the y'allsquad.org and donated yesterday. We've raised some money, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff today, and hopefully we're going to be able to update you on Twitter. So follow us on Twitter and Facebook and all of our social media outlets to see what's going on with the Y'all Squad. I actually don't even know the total number yet. We're getting ready to have a meeting, and I'll announce that tomorrow. But if you want to help us make even more of an impact and you haven't done so yet, we would really appreciate it if you went over to the y'allsquad.org and made a contribution to our 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're helping out all of these communities in Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia that have been devastated by floods. Even the smallest contribution helps. With as many of us as there are here on this channel, we can make a big difference. So thank you to everybody that's donated. We're going to have some big announcements about what we're doing here soon. And once again, just want to say a huge shout out to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video. If you want to discover your story, head on over to MyHeritage right now and get a 14-day free trial of their complete plan. Just click that link in the description below. You're going to have a lot of fun with it, and let me know how it goes in the comments. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.